Louis, is it possible for you to put both speakers on the same screen?
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
There he is.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I'm just talking to Robin. Hang on. Oh, yeah. Okay. Hang on. See you. I just got to turn my video on. Where is it? Okay. Can you see me now?
Jack, you look fantastic.
Yeah, good. So, can you see me okay?
Fantastic. I'm so happy to see you.
Okay. Yeah. Get the light. Yeah. So I'm just munching on my lunch here. So.
Enjoy it.
Mhm. All right. So, you sent me a bunch of questions to answer, but let's see how it moves.
It's going to be much more easygoing than that, and I have a few albums that I'm going to ask you about.
Okay.
And it's kind of a free for all. Anything you want to bring up, you're more than welcome to. And are there any things that you
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Speakin My Piece. This is season 2, and we are a little rusty getting back to it. But if you're new to the show, each week Dekel Bor interviews a giant of the jazz. Today is not an exception. A little bit about our host first, Guitarist Dekel Bor has performed with jazz greats Johnny Griffin, Reggie Workman, How are we doing now?
Far better.
We're gonna take two. We're gonna take two on that one. This.
I need to leave in about 40 minutes.
We've got the time. We're gonna jump right in. And sorry for the glitch there, folks, but we're going to jump right in and welcome to the room the legend, Jack DeJohnette. And I'm just going to turn it right over since I've wasted enough of your time here. Mr. Dekel Bor, how are you?
I'm great. So happy to be here. In a couple of words, we are opening the second season. This album has been out on Roboto for a minute, and it's been doing. And watching by him, he did a series of movies about Bach, where he's working with and collaborating with sculptors and with choreographers and different artists from different fields.
Yeah.
And I've been really getting into that lately. I'm playing a lot of Bach myself, and he's so inspirational. It's also so well done. He's talking about it in the most soulful way. Really, it's
Yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Bach, he's definitely a challenge. I'm sort of, I was playing some of the things with a well-tempered clavichord.
Yeah. Which ones? Yeah, me too. Just
Yeah,
this morning.
you know, I stopped at da 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 da.
Yeah.
You know, I'd have to take each hand separately and put
It,
together. You hear those four voices. It's amazing.
unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. I think it's something that it's still somewhat of a secret that you're an unbelievable piano player. I mean, you've released two piano solo albums by now and a trio album that with Freddie Waits and I mean but it's still somewhat of a secret. So anything the more that we can hear from that, we'd love to.
Yeah, well, you know, I did the solo album for Nouvelle Records
Yeah.
called Return, which
That,
was recorded, you know, mostly my songs except one that was written by Milton Nascimento. And the fun part of doing that was having the opportunity to play a Fazioli 9-foot grand piano. And my manager at the time was able to set up a place for me in the warehouse where they kept these Faziolis. And so I was able to go in like one day a week and
right.
on the instrument, because the action on the piano is totally not like no other piano. And so one of the things that's amazing about it is the touch, which you can play triple pianissimo without using the saw. But also, conversely, when you start to play on the instrument, it's so easy to play. If you're used to pianos with more resistance, you kind of fall over yourself. So I really needed that time just to spend time with it. And that piano also, it sings so much, just one note is like, it makes you play it.
I also thought that it was incredibly well recorded. Like I could really hear you coming out on that record, on the Nouvelle record.
Yeah, no, I mean the instrument was a great help for that.
And did you find out about this instrument when you were touring with Herbie? He plays those. He's been playing these for years.
Well, good friend and late great musician Jerry Allen liked the Fazioli, and it was Herbie, who expressed to me that he loved the Fazioli so much that he just decided to play that. He was a Steinway and Dorsey, but he just said, "Look, I like the Fazioli better." So I got turned on to it. And Herbie said, one of the things that got him sold on it was that he was doing a solo piano concert, and he realized he was playing triple pianissimo without the soft pedal, and that could make a amount of control. But you have to adjust your touch to get the most out of that kind of sensitive, keyboard.
And how long was that process of you going to the warehouse once a week and kind of getting to know the piano and working on the tunes? And
well, it was about it's one day a week I went in. I'd say maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Beautiful. So in addition to go ahead.
Go ahead.
In addition to the Bach, what else have you been been inspiring you lately? Or the Yo-Yo Ma?
As some Native American music that my wife Lydia plays, and there's a couple of things, some chants that make me want to dance. There's another one by Buffy St. Marie, so it's called "You Gotta Run," and that gets you rocking, gets you moving, and Lydia likes to move, and she gets that up, turns it up loud, and we get moving. What's his name? I can't think of his name.
So I didn't mean to, put you on the spot. It's not a.
No.
There's a couple, many other things that I would love to know about. So the first thing, I prepared a couple of albums, and most of them are, associated with you, or in many ways. The first one is this one. It's a real favorite of mine. Abercrombie's on it, and it was a band that this band recorded at least one more album on ECM around the same pocket of time. And were you guys touring a lot? Like, what was the process behind those albums? It was a shifting band, but with a lot of the same guys.
Yeah, but I mean, we were touring, and while we were on tour, it took a few days off to go in and record.
And what was the process? You would bring music straight to the session. You guys would perform it first. Like what was like for you to make that move as a
We,
band leader?
we performed it, while we traveled. We'd have a rehearsal, in the States, but then the music would start to develop from the actual live performances, and then we go in the studio and record.
And the various bands, the right before this was the band with David Murray, and it kept evolving. Then Osby came into the band, a lot of other people. But what was your feeling as far as the repertoire, as the way that it developed, and what was the experience like for you? I mean, you would write on the piano, I would assume. And were you bringing sketches, or was it a little more detailed, or?
No, I bring in full pieces, and some of them were more extended pieces. Some were suite pieces, like the special edition, the first special edition with David and Murray and Arthur Black.
Arthur Black, yeah.
Arthur Black and Peter Warren. So yeah, I wrote the idea for that album was to write, to get a bigger sound out of four pieces.
Yeah.
And that was done by writing lines that combined the bass and arco, along with an instrument that I had made by Honor, an electronic melodica. It was like a handheld synthesizer, really. And so I was able to write in an extended way for the ensemble, to develop ensemble playing with that group, which, worked out very well.
And I always get a sense from these specific albums that there was it all felt loose in the best sense, that it didn't feel like everything was either over rehearsed, or it was almost like at some pieces it almost like it really has this feeling of playing free almost, even though there's a composition there, but it's a very, very spiritual way of developing written music that I thought those bands had, that is getting more and more of a lost art somehow.
Yeah, I always try to create a balance, of structure and freedom. So that was what I was always trying to go for with the music.
And that is something that that was spoken about between the four of you guys, or between the five of you guys, or it's something that you brought to the bandstand and everybody kind of followed suit?
Well, yeah, it was an intuitive thing. We kind of, the compositions took on their own personalities every time we performed them. So, and I encouraged the musicians to take liberties with the melodies so that the compositions would not be so static when we performed them.
Yeah.
So I kept everything fresh, every time we played the music.
And I encourage anyone who's listening to check out. There's just so many of these directions, special edition, and many under your name. And there's just so much music, especially on ECM, then on Impulse. Anyone who's not familiar with those Poke at a Time from late 70s or mid 70s onwards, for about 20 years, there's just so many, almost like an album a year. And all of them are amazing and quite different. The next one that I want to bring in it's a real favorite of mine. I grew up on this. It's the 8081 band with Metheny and Hayden and Dewey Redman and Brecker. And
yeah.
But I'm really putting this almost as a representation of the relationships that you guys had, that it's just a representation, as you made so many different kinds of music with these people. And any stories that you'd like to share, or what was your experience like? I'd love to know.
Well, I just have one. I mean, I have one story that, I mean, it was a great combination in the sense that, particularly with the horns. I mean, Charlie Hayden was on bass, but you had these two diverse styles from, Michael Brecker, the late Michael Brecker, and the late
Drew Redman.
Huey Redman. And one of the things that they said to each other was, Dewey said, yeah, man, I wish I had, he said to Michael, I wish I had your technique. And Michael said to Dewey, I wish I had your ideas.
It's an amazing album, especially them playing together. But one of the highlights for me is at one of the highest points of the album, there's a scream at the end of the track, Jack DeJohnette. And there's always us fans always argue who's saying that, and my bet is that it's Hayden.
Oh yeah,
from Noise Voice.
Yeah, that was Charlie.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
someone is owing me $5 somewhere. Beautiful. The next one I'm moving to is Time on the Hands with Scofield. Another epic band. But I'm really using this as an opportunity to just talk about the relationship and the chemistry, because you guys recorded so much afterwards with Trio Beyond, with Hudson. So I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, well, John, Scofield, has a unique kind of bluesy sound that comes through his music no matter whatever he plays.
Yeah.
And he can play, he's at home a lot of different genres of music. And, he has great melodic and harmonic ideas and rhythmic ideas, so that there's a chemistry with him, he and I, that's always been pretty consistent. And I think that really developed really strongly over the years with the Trio Beyond.
Yeah. With Hudson as well, and a lot of other bands, yeah.
And, we played that music really tight, because Larry was such an amazing musician, not only on the organ, but also on the acoustic piano as well. But Larry was phenomenal. He could walk these amazing bass lines like he was two people.
Yeah.
And so that gave us a lot of freedom, gave me a lot of freedom anyway. And so, we could really try anything, from straight ahead to free. So the Shaddada's album, we covered a lot of bases with that recording.
Yeah, it's a real favorite of mine. And then, I always get a sense that there's something about John's time feel on the guitar that really kind of blends with you in a very, very natural way, a very deep, wide beat.
Yeah, well, I would totally agree with that. It's like, it's very fluid. It connects right away, instantly.
So since you use the word fluid, what does that mean to have a fluid time feel for you? Because I always get a sense that you have a way of bending time in the dramatic and emotional way, while staying, while keep moving, moving the ship forward.
Well, I mean, it's a question of being in and out, or being in and out of being conscious of being in the time, and then being out of time while you're still in it. In other words, you become timeless. You know, to make a pun from John Abercrombie's "Timeless," but yeah, that's an amazing state to be in time, but not of it. And so, you know, one thing feeds the other, going back and forth.
And
Time is an abstract kind of construct, right?
It's both abstract and also completely tangible, because we're beating our hearts beat in time. The world, everything is it kind of seems like the whole world is grooving in a way. At the same token, when we're not, especially with the way that what I'm exploring with music is that if there's a way that the deeper that I'll get into that, the freer of it I'll be. And just like you say, I'm getting a glimpse that there's a timeless thing there that I feel that you exemplify in the best way, but also Miles and Coltrane, you get a sense that you're in the river of life somehow. It's not a metronomic thing anymore.
Right.
It's not a contrived thing anymore. It's just a soul thing.
Yeah, it's organic. I guess that's the best word I could say.
And that is something that you think was a generational thing, because the more I got to play with a lot of my heroes from the generations before me, with Persip, with Billy Hart, with I had to play with Elvin once, Louis Hayes, and there was a size to the beat. There was a size. There was this big, huge beat to that entire school that is somehow lost in my generation and the younger ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to hear what does it look like through your eyes?
Well, I'd say there's still some players around who have you know, an expansive concept of the time. To name a few is Nasheed Waits, Marcus Gilmore, you know, Terry Lynn Carrington, so Bill Stewart. Who else? There's a pianist named Leo Genovese.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah, and so I think there are still players around who value that, who still incorporate it into their conception of playing, you know, music, improvised music right now. Yeah.
And the way that you hear it is being fluid and expansive?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So I'm moving to the next one. The next one is Coltrane's Meditation. I could choose almost any of John's music. I was brought up on this music playing with Reggie Workman's band. And I always got a sense that you have a very, very special relationship. I know that you guys played a couple of times. I don't know if it was with Rashid or as a quartet. But I'm always getting a sense that there's a very, very strong emotional and spiritual connection. And I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, well, you know, as you know, it's been said that John Coltrane put the ohm into jazz, into the, you know, and brought a very, very strong spiritual vibration to his music. And so I had the opportunity to play with him for a week in Chicago at a club called Plug Nickel, which was with Pharoah Sanders, Alice, Jimmy Garrison, and Rashid. And man, that was very challenging, you know. physically, musically, and spiritually. And John was just, I guess he was like a channeler of this amazing musical information, but was more than just musical information. It was like the multiverse was all in his music. And of course, John read a lot of books, esoteric books, and I'm sure that he incorporated them in his playing. So yeah, I feel really blessed that I had an opportunity to experience, and I'm still I feel that when I practice, sometimes I practice with the records, and it's really it really lifts up my spirits.
Absolutely. What was his energy as a person after Bandstand?
He's
Spending
very
a week
quiet.
with him.
Yeah, but he was very quiet. He never, when he spoke, he had something to say, but he was almost like in a deep meditation when he was, I mean, he was, you could have a conversation, but, his mind was always about the music. In fact, when we used to take him and Alice home after the gig, and she used to say at 4 or 5 in the morning, he'd be sitting on the edge of the bed with a flute in his hand, and she'd ask him, "Are you okay?" And he would say, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just still hearing the music."
Wow.
So music is a constant vehicle for him.
It's a beautiful thing to hear. Moving to the next one. So I chose this. This is Monin, but I'd love to hear just your insight into that entire generation that you grew up on. Like it was Blakey and Philly and Haynes that I really kind of hear you coming out of, and Max, and you had a way of taking all of that information and come up with a style that is really, it's really been almost like the model for all the generations afterwards. And I wonder what it was like for you as a young musician, kind of growing up within that part of those heroes.
Well, I studied those players a lot, and Tony's in there, and Art Taylor is also in there. It's I knew that everyone has their influences, so I'd go through my different influences. I used to practice with the records and take things that I liked that the drummers did, and then I was aware that you go through that, but my ultimate goal was to put all these pieces together, let go of things that I didn't need, and reinvent what I heard according to the musical situation I was in.
And that was a conscious thing as you were growing up, that was part of your process?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that's still a process.
Was that a bigger priority 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years ago than it is now? Coming up with one's original sound? Because it seems like for a minute, for a good chunk of 40, 50 years, that anyone that came on the scene, in order to leave a mark, they would have to come up with something very original. And it almost seems like with the way that music education came in and changed the way people learn music from an oral tradition to a written tradition. It seems that that kind of became less and less of a priority.
Well, yeah, with the access to music education, and it has contributed a great deal to young musicians coming up. I think some of the challenges are, well, now we're in a pandemic, but even before that, a young person either has to go learn how to be a band leader, an entrepreneur. You have to wear a few different hats to make it, and also I think some of the educators are trying to get a balance between the written, the notation, and being able to play, by your ear, and develop that intuitive aspect to composition and improvisation. So I think what happens with the schools now, there's more musicians or more practitioners than there is work available.
Yeah, that is felt very, very strongly in my generation, for sure.
Yeah.
It seems like, especially with the entire wave of social media, where everybody's it created a really unnatural bubble, where I think a lot of younger generations, people who are in their teenage years now, I think they're getting a sense that this is not really what it's about. Where I think my generation, we felt so privileged just to be able to play music.
Yeah.
And to have a relationship with it, and learn to get a rare Hank Mobley record or one of the Keith Quartet records. It felt like this treasure.
Well, yeah, but it's a twofold thing. On the other hand, on one hand, now people have access to so much musical information. You can go, through the media, YouTube. You can look up anybody. You can look up their history. Which could be a good thing. But
yeah,
it's also
that part I enjoy. But I'm getting a sense. I'd love to hear your take on this. I'm getting a sense, especially let's take Miles for an example. I always get a sense that it's not about the notes with him. And it can be with you, or it can be with Keith, who's playing a lot more notes. But what I'm trying to say is, it's not about the information. The information is almost like the easiest way to kind of digest something. But I think Miles is a great example that you learn information, and it's so far away from the source that's almost like the best mirror to stand in front of and realize that the note is not what it's not the sum of the parts.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that comes down to, Miles always talked about having a sound, where with piano, it's a touch, with drums, it's a touch. So it's not so much, well, it is some of the notes, the choice of notes, but it's the intention and the feeling resonating within them that makes a difference. So even Miles can play a note that's muffed or didn't come out clearly. It still sounds good because he's got that intention, the intention behind it. And with John, with Coltrane, he had that ability to, he played beautiful ballads. He really played beautiful ballads. And sometimes I think people overlook that aspect of his playing, because on the other hand, he could also play, streams of ideas, like a stream of consciousness ideas. But even with all of that, his sound was consistent.
Actually, his ballad album is the first jazz album I got when I was like 14 or something. So for me, that's always like the landmark or the watermark to kind of adhere to or to dream about. And one of the things that is not often talked about as far as Coltrane, that Workman used to always say that he knew every tune in the book. Like you couldn't throw out a standard at the time that he didn't know inside out, which really goes to show that it's always this ocean of wisdom and not a highly specialized ability.
Right. We got a few more minutes left here.
So, lastly, I'd love to hear about the trio. I mean, it really kind of was like the band of a lifetime for so many of us, and I'd love to hear about the process. What was the process of like, was it things? From what I hear, these are tunes are just played in sound check before then, and then it's the concert, and that's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the idea was to take standards and some free improvisations, but challenge ourselves to come up with fresh new ideas with the music. And so we spent 30 years doing that. And that was, an incredible experience, being able to do that and playing with Gary and Keith. Somehow, I tell you what, to sum it all up, we had, when we first got together, we did an album for ECM called Tales of Another. It was Gary.
Gary's album.
So we had that album, and then Manfred Eicher suggested that maybe we come together and maybe form a trio. And then I think it was the idea was that we didn't plan anything. We just keep doing it. And one of the things that we were able to do is like play time, play free improvisations, play ballads, and come up with different ways to play them all the time. Oh, and okay, I get back to this point I was going to make. The thing that made us have something in common was that we all played piano. But our favorite pianist and the favorite album that really was life-changing.
Jamal at the Pershing.
Yes, absolutely. And so we had that in common. So, that.
What is it to you that creates chemistry between musicians? I mean, if I have to sum that trio up.
I mean, it just either happens or it doesn't. And intuitively if it's happened, and if it's not, you try and talk about it. If you're not gelling, then you try. If you're open to suggestions and talking about ways to create an atmosphere where the music can blossom and continue to grow, then that's how it works. That's how it works for me.
I think another amazing example of that is the trio with Matt, and with Ravi. And that's another real highlight of and a real favorite of mine, the last album in movement. But I've seen you guys play so many times by now. That's another amazing band, and if there's more from that band coming, that we would really love to hear it.
Yeah, right now we're taking a sabbatical at the moment, and you know, right now, yeah, you know, we may make some changes, but
Hopefully.
yeah, sabbatical.
Jack, I'm gonna conclude with saying we love you so much. Your contribution to this art form cannot be stated in any way, and your impact on my life has been beyond immense. So you guys stay safe, Lydia and you, and I'll be in touch. And we love you so much, and I hope to see you real soon.
All right, man. Continue what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Bye bye, Jack. Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.